Hey everyone, it's Xant. So, today I am here to talk to you about the new Gundam game that has come out, SD Gundam Battle Alliance. Some of you may have played the demo for this, some of you may have gotten your hands on it at the Bandai Namco panel at Anime Expo this year. Regardless, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about it, and discuss all the fun little things that I found out about the game and just my general experience with it. Should be noted that this copy of the game was provided by Bandai Namco, so yeah, I just have to disclose that for y'all. Now, on to the actual meat and potatoes. So, slightly different from what I normally experience with a Gundam game. Should be noted, up to this point, I've mostly played the versus style Gundam games. So, kind of more the I guess arcadey fighter kind of games, from Alliance vs. SAF 2 Plus to the games that were on the PSP, now to GBO 2 that I really enjoyed playing that. Can't wait for the Steam release. Come on, Bandai, where is it? We now have a more what's the best way to describe this game? I would almost say it's more of a RPG beat 'em up than anything. There are still quite a bit of tactics involved while playing this, but it's in a very nice combat environment. I spent a long time just playing this game and getting footage so that when I did this video, I'd be able to just talk about anything and I'd have more than enough footage to play around with. So I guess let's start from what people are going to be exposed to when they start, the story. Up until this point, I've cleared a good chunk of the game. I've cleared up to Directory 5 now. My experience with the story so far is it's very cliched. Obviously, you know, that's what most stories are these days, but it does have its little nuggets of interest. The characters are likable. I did find, though, that the main characters kind of adapt too quickly to the situation. You know, you start off doing your thing in a normal mobile suit, life is great. Next thing you know, you get digitized, teleported off, exposed to all these things. You just kind of take it in stride. For the game's overall plot, you kind of had to, but I just found it weird. But overall, the story's nice. You know, I didn't put a lot of investment into following it along, reading it. I enjoyed it as it showed up, absolutely, but it's not like I'm hanging on every word kind of thing, you know? But yeah, overall, to me, what I've experienced with the story so far, it's nice seeing these twists to the canon timeline. I like the whole break true mission split that they've done here. I'll get to that in a moment. And overall, I find it's a refreshing kind of experience where you get to hear about all of these historic events happening, how they've been mutated by the system and the corruption, what's happening. It's really cool. So as I was saying with break and true missions, so the general concept, the story of this game is there are canon timeline scenarios and they've been effectively corrupted. When a important scenario is happening and the enemy mobile suit or whatever gets replaced by another one from a different timeline, series, whatever, that's called a break. The data or timeline has been broken. And your job is to resolve this break by freeing up errors in other places to then come back and then do the true version of the mission where the break doesn't happen and you actually finish the story and canon timeline event as intended. We've had a couple. I don't want to spoil the story too much, honestly. I want people to experience it themselves if they want to. But there have been some hiccups with doing that, where, as you can expect, when you're a third party intervening in a canon timeline scenario, there is butterfly effect, and I find that very interesting, honestly. So, moving away from the story, I want to talk about unlocking mobile suits, because I know a ton of people, including myself, are super interested about that. So, when you complete a mission, you know, you defeat the boss, the big bad guy, whatever, you're going to get a bunch of drops, as you would expect from an RPG, or this style of game. When it is a boss character, you get blueprints. Blueprints are what you actually need to unlock a mobile suit, but it's not like you collect X amount of generic blueprints to unlock it. You have to get specific blueprints for a suit to unlock it. For example, very early on, you're exposed to the Goof Custom. To unlock it, you have to beat the mobile suit, you defeat it, it blows up, you get some blueprints. Now, the Goof Custom, if I remember correctly, because I'd have to look through the footage again, and I can't exactly where it is, so I don't want to, run through, almost 8.5 hours of video footage to find it, but I believe it took 3 blueprints to finish the suit. On my first clear through, I got 1 blueprint for it, and I had to beat the boss 2 more times, getting 1 blueprint each run. Once I got all 3 blueprints for the Goof, it was completed, I could then use it. Some mobile suits, like the OG Gundam, require different tiers of blueprints. So you have your Gundam Blueprint 1, Gundam Blueprint 2, Gundam Blueprint 3, and you need 2 copies of each of these blueprints to unlock the mobile suit. And they're placed behind different parts of the story, different missions. I find this system actually pretty cool. It allows you to really focus on the mobile suit you want, and you have to do something related to it to unlock it. For example, relatively early on, you get the freedom, but you don't fight the freedom, you have the freedom as an ally, right? And when you complete the mission, you get some blueprints for the freedom. Same idea. Overall, the system I think is pretty neat. It's very easy to unlock the mobile suit you want once you have access to the missions that give you the blueprints for it. You can either sit there and binge the mission over and over and over again to unlock it, or if you don't really want the suit, you could just continue playing the game and just don't worry about it. Thinking about mobile suits, upgrading. It's exactly as was shown in the demo. It really just boils down to dumping enough capital into your mobile suit to upgrade it. You get uncapping materials, which allows you to increase the level cap of your suit. Shocking, I know. And as you do that, it severely increases the amount of capital you need to improve the stats past a certain point. But hey, you know what? Makes it stronger. I will note that levels and stats are very important in this game, like most RPGs. I'll actually have the B-roll footage playing here. Me and Gaming Emblem, we actually managed to get some co-op going, and I'll touch on the co-op / multiplayer soon. Me and him got some multiplayer stuff going. We're having a grand old time. He was playing a level 2 suit. I was playing like a level 16 suit. And I was able to 2-shot enemies that used to take me, like 4, 5, 6, 7 hits to actually kill, right? So there is a big difference. Even bosses take insane amounts of damage, right? So no surprise, I hope, that higher level stuff does more damage to lower level stuff. But it's really just to point out, when you're playing this game, don't forget to invest. Don't forget to actually level up your stuff. I'll actually include the footage here in the background of me getting I got destroyed by my first fight against the Xant, whatever. Anyways, big old grabby hands man. His attacks were devastating. They were quick. They were ruthless, and he did destroy me. I decided, all right, I'm going to take a step back from this. I played some multiplayer with Emblem, got some capital, improved my mobile suit, actually changed to a different mobile suit to try fighting it, and I managed to beat it. So, really, if you ever hit a wall, just take a step back, grind up, go back and tackle it again. Or, slam your face against the problem, doesn't really matter. It does also... I'll include the footage I had here against the Big Zam. Man, this was such a slog of a fight. I forgot that the Big Zam had a beam-resistant shield, and I rock the Freedom. Now, you might go, well, yeah, but he has those rail cannons. Yes, you and everyone else has said that. But because of the rate at which I could fire them, and the reload speed, it was a very long fight. I should have the footage compressed here, but regardless, it took about 12 minutes to destroy the Zam. And that was an effort. So it's important to know what you're fighting against, what it brings to the table, and actually countering what you're fighting. So food for thought, keep that in mind. Now let's talk about the multiplayer. This is a big one for me. So I know personally, when this game was announced, right? All my buds that are into the co-op, into Gundam, they were like, oh, this looks really, really cool. I'm definitely picking this up. And my biggest concerns were with the multiplayer, because that's what I'm most looking forward to with this type of game, playing with my buddies. I was worried about the ping. I was worried about latency. I was worried about progression, because you got to understand, right? Games like Monster Hunter, which are really, again, designed to be played with friends, right? You can't just do the story content, at least not before the most recent one, Rise. Before that, you had to do the story mission yourself to trigger all the cutscenes, and then you could play with your buddies. However, Battle Alliance just takes that, throws it out the window, and goes, nope, you and your buddies can hop in a lobby and literally just play the whole game co-op together. You don't have to hop out of a lobby to do anything. The sole exception is for the story bits. When you're in the mission doing stuff, you'll both still see the NPC dialogue back and forth, all the discussions that happen, but you will miss the pre-mission and post-mission visual novel style lore dumps, where they talk about everything, discuss the mission, and that's where the real character growth is. However, there is the library feature. You can replay this footage. Honestly, I don't think it's a big deal due to that. If you're just there to play this game, enjoy it with your friends, you can absolutely do all of that through the multiplayer mode. If you are there for the story, you can absolutely do that at your own pace. If you're there for both, you can play with your buddies and then just roll back and watch everything in the library at your own pace. I think it's a really cool kind of setup that they have there, and honestly, nice stuff. Now, another thing I know people are going to be curious about, the ones that may not have played the demo, or ones that did and were kind of curious beyond the base suits. There is a lot of combat variety in mobile suits. So when you start off, you're kind of limited in your suit selection. Surprise, I know. I played a good chunk of the early game with the Command Gundam. I got kind of used to how it played, and its attack patterns, and when to use its skills and everything in its melee combos. Then I got my hands on the Freedom, and that was a complete paradigm shift in terms of how I approach combat. For one, the Command Gundam is classified as a sharpshooter. It's definitely made more for ranged combat than it is for melee. Melee was still a viable option though. With the Freedom, it's a hybrid suit. It's column A, column B. Using that, I was able to, engage at a range, go in with my melee combo, and that was the other thing. Melee combos on the Freedom were completely different, because some mobile suits have the ability to attack once, twice, 3 times. Effectively, every mobile suit has a varying amount of melee attacks in its base combo, and then you use that to go into your special attack. That can just be pressing the special attack button and finishing up, holding the special attack button to potentially knock the enemy up in the air, where you can then follow with an aerial combo. All these mobile suits play very differently, with just melee combo wise. They play differently, they each have their own quirks, and it'll take a while to kind of grasp all the nuances with it. On top of that, you then have all of your other skills, your ranged attack, your, in my scenario, or my case, I was using a controller, so my shoulder button skills, right? And you can use those to combo into your melee combo, reset it, and keep going. So really, at the end of the day, one of my friends is very worried about the fact that, I want to play like a Mook suit, right? Are we going to be forced to really just play flagship mobile suits all the time? And what I can say is, if you're there for an absolutely min-maxed experience, yes, you're probably going to want to play the, titled mobile suits, like the Freedom, the Victory. You're going to want to play the big name ones. But if you just want to play your favorite suit that's in the game, have fun, you can absolutely do so. From what I've experienced so far, there are no inherently bad mobile suits. They just have their own quirks and combos. And it just comes down to what you find fun and what you're comfortable with. So far, I have used the GM, I have used Command, I have used Freedom, I have used Camphor, I have used Providence, and I've used Cerevi. And I briefly tried Reagan Lays as well, Reagan Lays Julia. And all of them have played vastly differently in terms of how I approach combat, how I approach defeating large waves, how I approach fighting the boss. It should also be noted that special attacks do have very varying effects to them. So, the Cerevi, for example, I have found its special attack in practice is practically useless because it is powerful. It hits like a truck. Every attack is doing like 10x my normal attack damage with that special attack, and it is an absolute nuker. However, when you start the animation, you're locked in firing in that direction when the special attack goes off. If the enemy has moved, you're gonna miss because it has a rather small hit window. Because of that, it's a very, very easy attack to whiff. Trade-off, you hit, you're doing insane damage to your enemy. Versus, let's say, the Freedom special attack, where it's actually a tracing kind of attack, where you use it and your mobile suit will follow where the enemy is and it will just follow them with the beams. So it's very easy to hit and very easy to get the full damage out of it. Then you have, it's kind of that same idea across the board. All special attacks have their own gimmick to it, and it's really what works best for you. Right? Like, for example, even though I say the Cerevi special attack is relatively useless because, you know, near impossible to hit, if you're partnered up with something like the Barbados 6th form, its special attack holds the enemy in place for a good chunk of time. If you and a buddy, or even if you're controlling your AI properly, you could have it line up that special attack and then you use yours, more or less guaranteeing that you're going to hit your enemy. So that just really falls down to execution. I guess what I'm trying to get at here is really, don't worry too much about the meta when it comes to picking a mobile suit. Just play your favorite. Improve it, dump the stats into it, and just have fun. Honestly, I think that is my takeaway from this as well while I was playing it. Just have fun. Because so far, the combat feels really smooth. The skills, at least for the ones that I recognize, are iconic and I enjoy them a lot. The boss fights are so much fun to do with friends, especially if you're all at the correct level to fight the boss. And that's something else to bring up too. You can actually respec your mobile suits. Once you've dumped capital into them, you can take back, and so I guess the best way to put it, you don't get the capital back when you revert the stats. It just goes into a pool that you can then redistribute along the suit. So if you decide, you know, you really, really, really like playing the Barbados 6th form, and you've upgraded it, it's like level 28, and your bud is there and you're playing with him and he's running like a level 3 suit, you can just reduce all the stats of your mobile suit down to around level 3 and play with him, so, or your friend, right? So you're not just destroying everything in a second. And then when you're back to playing on your own, you just put all the stats back to where they were, fill it back up again. So I think that's really nice, and there's a lot of flexibility in the multiplayer mode, and overall, nice. So we're reaching, I don't know, I think probably around 20 minutes or something now. I've just been rambling about the game and talking about my experience with it and all of that. This wasn't really a structured video because originally I was going to do a very structured thing, but I realized most of what I wanted to do, which was tutorials, was covered by the game already. And they actually have tutorial missions to teach you a lot of the mechanics and content of the game. So I didn't really see much of a point in regurgitating all of that. With that in mind, though, I will say that overall the experience that I've had with SDGBA is really, really good. I am really excited to play through. From what I've seen, the Kshatriyas in this game, and I am super excited to grind my way through it until I start unlocking it and get to play as it, because as some of you may know, I absolutely love that mobile suit. From what has been said, there are about 80 suits in this game, considering DLC that's currently released, and based on the way the game works, them adding more DLC and missions to unlock them seems to be a very straightforward task. So with all of that in mind, all I can really say is I am hoping that you guys enjoy the game nearly as much as I am, right? Like, this is It's really fun, and just playing with friends really solidifies that. To me, I've always enjoyed these games as a multiplayer experience, and this definitely delivers in that field. So I am super happy with that. Overall, if I were to apply an out of 10 rating to this game based on my experiences so far, I would probably give it an 8.5. The combat is crisp. The multiplayer is solid. You know, like there's obviously a little bit of latency and lag in there, but when isn't that a thing with online play these days? Especially with so much happening in this type of game. The upgrading is very simple and straightforward. It feels rewarding to complete missions and get that like loot explosion. The story, although cliched, is very straightforward, easy to follow along with, and it still has, like I said, its little nuggets of interest in there that kind of keep me enthralled enough to continue reading and enjoying it. And yeah, overall, it's just been a very positive experience so far with this game. So I'm gonna wrap this video up here. I'm gonna get back to Battle Alliance. I want to play more, and what I will do is most likely a stream in the near future where I play with some of the people that tune in on the stream. We can just do some multiplayer and have a grand old time. Yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. As always, peace out. I will see you very soon for some Battle Alliance streams, and enjoy the game.